Kilted
Balls.
balls. Hey,
Oh,
welcome back. Welcome back to the
that's
Kilted Balls podcast, people.
yeah. Oh, look at that. You have some.
Now sponsored by Corona.
There
Not
you go.
not really. That'd be super cool.
See, I have my love you cup. Oh, can you
Oh
see
man,
it?
it was like in focus and
Oh,
disappeared as soon as
there
there
we
it
go.
is.
So I found out wine, if it gets too warm, the corks start popping out.
That would
I
make
think it's a thing.
sense.
And I read about it. It might be okay or it could be bad. So I cracked one open today because I had three where the corks were popping out because I was moving some of the wine around at the warehouse.
Oh
And this
man.
bottle's okay. I cracked it open when I was cooking dinner, and I was hoping that Gina would help, but she hasn't. So
No, I'd
might be
help you, but
bringing
I'm not there.
I might be bringing two bottles when I come visit.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's coming up soon, right?
Yep.
2 weeks away. 2 weeks away, we'll get to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. Be ready for an in-person podcast, baby, in two
That'll be
weeks.
fun.
Um, should we finish our recap of VeeCon before we move on?
Either one. Did people seem to I didn't catch much of the reflection from last week.
Oh
I've
my
Even
gosh.
though I don't get sick, a virus did get a hold of me. So I've been down most of like for
Darn
the
it.
past many days.
That's no good, my friend. No good. Are you feeling better now?
I feel okay. I ate dinner and I didn't have to instantly run to the bathroom. So I say that's a win. That's the first time in 4 days I didn't instantly have to go to the bathroom.
You seem to love having a sick family. That's supposed to be like your guys' MO.
We're trying to change that. Thankfully, Gina doesn't get sick. It's just the boys, but and then me.
It's like a virus every day. A virus every
Hmm.
day.
Just live in a constant state of virus. I
Man. All right. So you asked our last thing. Wow, I haven't posted any minis since a week. Oops, I keep meaning to. Sorry, people.
Mhm.
We had 18 views. That's not too shabby.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I don't mind that. So that's not bad. So yeah, I guess let's finish our recap. We
Yeah,
got
let's
all
do
the
the
way to
recap.
Saturday, and let's see if we
Yeah.
can pull some things. So the first one, oh, we started talking about this. This is where we ended. We
Mhm.
had Tim Tebow come in, and that
Yep.
that was fantastic. I thought.
Yes, I agree. I thought I thought he's gonna be okay. I wasn't sure if there'd be a lot of people there Saturday morning. Friday can be like a little bit of a party, but he drew the crowd and he did a great job, I think.
I loved two things, and one of them I keep like going over in my head. The first thing I really liked was that passion, and I don't know if I said this in our last episode or not. Sorry if I'm repeating
I don't think
myself,
so.
but it was passion is something you have to suffer for, that it literally means suffering. And I didn't fact check him on that to see if it was Googled, but I do know like there's the movie The Passion of Christ. And I
Mhm.
know like most churches on Good Friday or Easter pray the Passion, and that's Jesus's suffering. So I totally
Mhm.
get that
It
reference. I'm
made
like,
sense when he said it.
yeah, I'm like, crap, maybe passion does mean suffering, which is interesting because we often use the word passion or that I'm passionate about something to mean that you have strong feelings or that it's something you really like.
Hmm.
So, like, one of the common things I tell people, because I get asked this question a lot, like, what are you passionate about? And I always say, I'm passionate about other people being passionate. Like that's one of the things I've always said. Like
Hmm.
that gets me jacked up. It gets me excited, and I want to fulfill their passions. Right.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes with me with an idea, like I love to just throw everything at them to make that thing amazing.
Hmm.
Right. Like I love to fuel their passion. Their excitement gets me excited. Right.
Yes.
But I don't ever suffer for that.
Yeah. Would you suffer for it?
So would I suffer for that? And I think I probably would.
Mhm.
But it's interesting because if you look at what you suffer for and you use that as your metric, for what you care about, I think people would get really sad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like one
A lot of people don't focus on what they think they're focusing on.
right? Well, like I always tell people like at different jobs, right? Like they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this is like stressing me out. It's getting me sick." I'm like, you need to take a break. Go home."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, I can't do it because of this, because of this." And I'm like, "Literally, this job will forget you tomorrow. We'll hire somebody new. We will not even slow down.
Yeah.
You are you think you're really important, at least in my career field. You think you're really important, but not only are you just a cog in the machine, you are a non-important cog, easily replaceable."
That's very nice
And
of you.
uh,
That's
well,
very nice of you.
I'm very nice to people, right? People do not come to me for niceness; they come to
No,
me for
you're right.
honesty.
You're right. Exactly.
It's like a car, right? The tires are important on a car, but
Mm-hmm.
as soon as they start getting bad, you just replace them and you don't even think twice. You just replace the
Yeah.
tires, right? Whereas if the engine goes on your car, you might replace it or you might just buy a new car,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think if you use what you're passionate about, like people will be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so passionate about my family. Would you suffer for them?" Oh, yes, yes, yes. Do you suffer for your family right now? And some people do,
Yes.
right? And some people don't. And then you'll have people who be like, "What's causing you pain in your life?" And people will be like, "Well, my job. Like, I hate my job." Not me,
Mm-hmm.
but other
Yeah.
people will be like,
Yeah,
"I
exactly.
hate my job." And I'm like, "So you're suffering for that job. Why?" And it might be to pay for my family,
Yes. Yep.
right? And so you're suffering for your family, but it could just be that you just want money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I forget if it who it was who said it, one of our speakers, but it was like, "What are you doing with the money?
Yeah.
Like what's the plan? Is your plan to
Was
get a better car, a better house? Like, what's the deal?"
I think that was the world's greatest motivational speaker that said that.
It's really interesting, right? Like,
Because he
what
was
is
talking
your
about
thing?
because he was talking about that he still lives in his house in Detroit.
Okay.
He's like, people tell me to move. I'm like, why? Like,
Wish I knew.
because he was talking about doing other things and doing stuff with his family and vacations and stuff like that, which is important to him. Like, it goes back to what do you do with that money?
Right. What do you do with that? We've talked about that in my household before. Like, we want to make sure we're doing things that create memories
Mm-hmm.
more than things. Now we don't do a great job of that, but we create lots of memories as well. So
Yeah.
it's hit or miss, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, you should assess yourself, people, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever gig you're doing, what's the purpose of your gig and is it worth suffering for? And if it's not worth suffering for, why now? And it could be you're doing it for your family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many people I know like work so they have insurance for their family or they have
Mm-hmm.
money to put their kids through college, and so they're
Yeah.
suffering for their family, and that's noble and that's honorable, and you should be like, "Yes, I'm doing this for my family."
Mm-hmm.
But on that same note, you probably shouldn't be bitching about it.
Exactly. I imagined you were gonna say that, but if you weren't, I was gonna say like you can't point the finger someplace else. Like it's you making those decisions.
And I think that's a good decision. Like I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to leave this job and go get another one." Why? Well, because this one just makes me grumpy. Do you think the other one will make you less grumpy?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're probably going to be grumpy no matter where you are because you're not working. You're working. The whole point of working is somebody has to pay you to do that because you wouldn't just do it, right? Like,
Mhm.
like that's why they pay you because you wouldn't just do it, right?
That is true. That's true. That's funny. Actually, like thinking about this, and I forget who said it, but it goes back to the experiences over things.
Mm-hmm.
Popped into my head, and I can remember, and it wasn't like that for everything, because I definitely have had a lot of experiences, but it was at a different stage of life
Mm-hmm.
where I was living paycheck to paycheck, if that, and often gaps in between.
Right.
And but I was going to a lot of concerts and I really enjoyed the concerts. I was having fun, but of course the concerts cost more. And there was a concert that I wanted to go to, and I don't know why it popped into my head this week, but it just maybe because of this. But it was a concert I was going to go to. I had the money for it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go buy the CD because it was the band's first CD and it was their first tour. And I can remember doing that. And it was like the first conscious time where it was like I did something over the experience.
Nice.
I don't think I'm not that excited about it. I'm glad I didn't stay to it long, but
Yeah.
I want to keep an eye in my life. Are there other things that I'm doing subconsciously that I'm choosing things or just whatever over experiences that I'm missing out on those experiences
Well,
because of that decision way back then?
yeah, and I've thought that before about you. Like I used to tease you relentlessly that you fall for every person's like spiel, right? And
Hmm.
I'm always like, you're just buying things.
Hmm.
Like you're buying things, which is okay if it brings you joy. But I always teased you about that.
Yep.
I'm like, oh yay, you bought another Vitamix.
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly.
And that's not, no offense to Kilted, but I've always teased him that because I'm like the exact opposite, right? Like
Mhm.
I might be like, oh my gosh, I need a car, and I won't buy the car, right? Until I'm having to walk to school, and then I'll be like, oh, I probably should have bought the car.
And I'll be like, "Oh, this looks cool. I want it." And then and that was something I really had to work through. Like
Yeah,
I was not very responsible with
yeah.
my spending when I was
We were
younger.
in two different like spots, right?
Hmm.
And I think in our old age, we've kind of come to a middle ground, which is way better.
Hmm.
I think maybe I'm
Yep.
just blowing smoke up our asses, but I think it
Heck
is.
yeah.
So anyway, Tim Tebow was pretty good.
Yes, I
Following
agree.
Tim Tebow was Caesar,
Hmm.
and Caesar's like a dog whisperer. I don't know what his show is or whatever,
Yeah.
but the part about Caesar that I just kept, I've said it probably 3 or 4 times this like weekend alone, was he kept spewing that he's a big dog person. And so he kept saying, like, if your dog is doing this, it's because you're this. If your dog's neurotic, you're neurotic. If your dog is anxious, you're anxious. It's always the owner's fault. It's never
Mhm.
ever the dog's fault. And like our dog is like a little bitchy dog. And I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense because her owners are little bitchy bitches too, right? Like she just does whatever she wants and she doesn't care about the consequences. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's
I
kind
know.
of us, right? And you have that issue with Banks, like Banks just going
Well, Nate
crazy.
did come to my rescue. He said Dobermans are exceptions to the rule.
For which rule?
Because the Dobermans are crazy. We definitely got a dog above our energy level, which is one
I,
thing that he had talked about.
I was just about to say, it's not that Banks is mirroring you, it's that Banks has way more energy than you guys are getting rid of,
Yep.
which honestly might change when you go to your new place,
Yes,
right? Like if you make a dog run at the new
he
place,
has one already. It's awesome.
really, you built one?
Yeah,
Or
it's a stretch. So I can attach it to two spots. I have it where it attaches over by the well to
Mhm.
the door, and
Oh, and then it's got like a lead that goes on
it
it.
has the lead. Yep. So we keep it like that when we're like today we are there. Today's actually his first birthday. Because we
Aw.
keep all the doors open when we're there, so he can run inside mostly. He can get to the second room. He can lay
Mhm.
on the couch, but then he can come outside. He can go all the way out, or I can attach it all the way down against that retaining wall, and
Mhm.
he can get all the way to the backyard from there and all the way down. So yeah, it was something that we bought a
And that
couple
probably
months ago.
helps his
It's
energy
awesome.
level a ton,
Mhm.
right? Like
So he
just,
only chases Molly Bean, so
but he definitely needs that energy out, but that's for sure.
yeah,
So,
I've seen a lot of Caesar stuff from having the two wild ones and
yeah.
having I was familiar with his stuff. I'd seen a lot of it, but it was cool to see him in real life.
Yeah. And he had a lot of good messages, and I thought that was cool.
Mhm.
Deepak Chopra,
I love
I
Deepak.
was telling Cora she needs to follow him, and I needed to get her books on him because I think she would really like him.
Hmm. He's got some he's got some amazing books. He's got the books like you would. structure, like
Hmm.
what you would think like someone like that would have. But he's
Yes.
also got great novels that have like his teachings and ideas like all worked through them, but it's a novel,
Yeah.
which I love. I love the story aspect of it and stuff.
I'm gonna have to check it out. There were two things that I thought were great about his, and I'd like to hear like your thoughts, what you thought was great. The two things for me was I think we've talked about this before when we've talked about religion. One of the things I always tell people, and it came from a book I've read, was that all ways lead to the way, right?
Hmm.
And whenever anybody like say leaves the church or they go do something else, they'll be like, are you upset with that? And I'm like, always lead to the way. Like, I'm not one of these people that's like, only if you're born again will you be saved.
Hmm.
Like, that's not my mantra. My mantra is it literally doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be saved. And
Hmm.
all ways are going to get you there. Whatever way you choose, if you follow that, it'll get you where you need to go. And
Hmm.
he talked a lot about how there's a universal consciousness, which it's funny, like 2 weeks ago, I was just telling my daughters because they were saying something about, well, we know what you believe. I'm like, you don't have any freaking clue what I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Remember that? And they're like, well,
Hmm.
like, what do you think about God? And I'm like, I think God's a universal consciousness
Hmm.
and that we're segments of that
Hmm.
and that we just happen to give it the name God.
Hmm.
And he was saying the exact same thing. And I was like, Deepak, you and I, baby,
You must have
you and
listened to our
I.
podcast
I
before you.
know. I was like, he must have tuned in when we talked about that. The other part that was really interesting for me, and I've already told you this, and listeners, you can judge as you want to judge. I don't mind, right? But he was like, okay, we're gonna find your soul. And so he did like this meditation exercise. And he's like, okay, right there, that was your soul. And you probably felt it wanting to get out, or you felt like this, or you felt detached. And he goes, let's look at it again. And he did an exercise. And he's like, you can see what you're meant to be here, blah, blah, blah. And every time we were supposed to be seeing our soul, I just kept seeing me. And I was like, does that mean I am my soul? Like I'm living what it's supposed to be? I'm like, that
Hmm.
seems kind of egotistical. On the other hand, I felt completely at home in that space.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
he was like,
exactly.
right. And he was like, well, maybe you're uncomfortable. And I'm like, kind of
Yeah,
feeling
the same. There was no, I've not even the slightest bit uncomfortable, and
right. No disconnect, which maybe has something to do with, you know, the things we've talked about before, how we're able to
yeah,
interact with people and all of that.
yeah,
So that was pretty cool. Then we saw Charlie Rocket, who was amazing,
yes. It
right?
took me a second. I was
The
like,
athlete in all of us,
and
right?
you picked that one. I wasn't. I let you pick all the breakouts that day because there's only one that I really wanted to see, and I'm
Right.
so glad you picked it. Like, I don't know why he wasn't on the main stage. Maybe he just came in. Maybe Gary isn't familiar with his stuff, but he was amazing.
He was amazing. Now, I did find it interesting that he was bigger than I anticipated.
Hmm.
Like they made it sound like he was going to be really skinny and he was not, which I didn't like. It was okay. Like that was part of the message.
Yes.
And like I almost wondered if he was like purposely wearing stuff to make himself look bigger.
Hmm.
Like I was like, is he wearing like padding? Like I
Yeah.
couldn't tell, but
Because he
his
was
message was cool.
he was three something, wasn't he? 300
Yeah,
something
three
pounds.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not a super tall guy, but
And
yeah.
started running and ended up doing an Ironman and just
Hmm.
really inspirational and like really talking about going and getting it. And it took him having like a life or death moment to get there. And I thought, man, we should do stuff before it's life and death.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we should probably take that into account.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to see which one we
Yeah,
went
I
to
got teared up
next.
on that one a little bit.
Oh my gosh,
I
it
think
was amazing.
after that was it when we split up or was it Tom Bailu after that?
We went to the V Friends behind the scenes after that one,
Okay.
and that
Oh,
was
okay.
interesting.
Yes, that was really good.
So they talked a lot about what was going on at V Friends and what they could expect and how they got their jobs at V Friends. And it was just interesting. I wouldn't say it was like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah,
inspiring,
it
but
was interesting.
super interesting. Then we saw Tom, is it
Bailu,
BU?
Bailu,
Bailu?
I believe.
And I've been looking at his founders passes forever, and now I'm like, I've got bids in on his founder passes, and
I just got an update. I think 0.79 was the floor.
oh
Just
wow,
came across my
I have offers in
my
there.
floor app.
He envisions games starting to encompass every facet of your life so that you don't just play on your computer, but you play on your computer and then you'll play in the real world and you'll play back on your computer and on your phone, and like everything will be all tied in, which
Yeah.
I
Project
thought he was.
Kaizen, if anyone wants to check it out, Kyzen. I actually downloaded it. I started to play it. I need a soul and I don't have a soul. And I want to say the lowest soul was,
How do you get a soul?
well, so what had happened was you have to, it's on Immutable X.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to my token trove and I'm like, okay, this is Immutable X. But for whatever reason, when I tried to, like when I went to look for my other stuff, like it wasn't showing it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So I ended up taking, I only had a little bit of ETH in there, but I took my ETH from my token trove and I moved it to my other wallet.
Mm-hmm.
So then I realized, oh, I needed it in that wallet. So I'm like, am I going to pay the gas to move it back in just to get a soul? I'm not quite ready yet, especially because we're going to be traveling and stuff.
Right.
But when you go to the site, actually, I guess right now, oh, that's names. I'm like, that seems high. You can get a soul for 52 bucks.
Okay.
So, but now I, instead of a few hundred in that account, I have 0 in that account.
So your
So,
founder's pass doesn't get you that. It just allows you to play
no,
the
the
game.
Founder's Pass gets you some extra things, but I picked up a second one to flip, really.
Nice. Nice.
Like after seeing him talk, I was like, this is something that I'm gonna keep my original and
Mm-hmm.
then be able to flip that other one.
That's kind of smart. Kind of
Hmm.
smart. Our next one was Eric Thomas. I think we talked about him last week. He's the number
We
one
did.
motivational speaker in the world.
We
He
did.
was fantastic. He's the one we were just talking about who said, I'm still living in my house in Detroit. I
Hmm.
was telling somebody recently that he was like offered six figures to do a thing, but they wanted him to do extra. And he was like, nope. And they're like, you've got to do this. And he's like, I don't have to do anything. I want to speak and I want to leave. And you want me to
Hmm.
do other stuff. So just know.
Yeah,
And I'm like, wow.
he's
Like,
all right. Well, even with VeeCon, he was talking about they're like, oh, we need you here at 2, like an hour early. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'll be there like 2:30.
yeah, they're like, he's like, what time do I go on stage? And they're like, you go on stage at 2. Then don't worry, I'll be on stage at 2. Well, no, we
Okay,
want
that's
you here. It was something like five
yeah,
hours
yeah.
early. And he was like,
Okay.
no, I'm going to get there. He goes, you just have to trust that I'll be there on time. You don't
Hmm.
set what time. And I
Yeah.
was like, man. And they wanted to send a car for him. And he was like, nope.
Yeah.
He goes, nope. I don't want a stranger driving me there. I'll drive
Hmm.
myself.
Yeah.
I was like, holy
He
cow.
seemed really cool. And Gina's brother had heard of him before.
Nice.
So that was fun.
Yeah, I thought he was super cool.
Hmm.
Super awesome. Then did we split?
Then we split, pretty sure.
I think so. You went to go see, who did you go see? Sloth and Mumbot and Danny Cole.
Yep.
And how was that?
So it was super awesome. And there was a girl who I'm not really familiar with her or I heard um, uh,
Oh, we got a little max headroom going on.
on
Oh, it's
the
fun.
best. So, oh man. So I was familiar with her, but of course Sloth and Danny Cole being Gift Go artists and having met them. Am I still max headrooming?
No, now you're better. Now you're better. I don't know what
Oh,
happened
darn it.
there.
But so Umbot was passing out some stuff afterwards,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
and we were there. So in this, this is like a little metal, it's like a little metal plate, but
Oh,
it's cool.
cool.
It's got like some of our artwork on it. Got cards that have a bunch of different artworks and stuff on them. So that was super cool and fun. Like to have something like that. I don't have any of her NFTs or any part of her projects, but it's definitely something I'll look into and something that I'll keep an eye out for the art because I mean, we've talked about it many times on here. I have stuff where it's like, I just think it's really cool. And when I have a frame where I can display it, I'm going to be very excited for the
Nice.
artwork. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that was really cool. And how was yours?
I do not even remember which one I went to. That's how
You
good it
went
was.
to,
Did I go to the business of Web 3 or building a
yes.
modern tech company? I thought I went to the business of Web 3, but I couldn't
Yep.
remember. It had Shannon Stone,
Hmm.
who's the WoW girl, and it had Chris Lyons. It was just interesting. It was cool.
Cool.
Um, I'm trying to think. They just kind of went over everything that's going on and how we're interacting with each other and what they think that'll be like.
Hmm.
But they didn't really, it was so hard for them to get into what they needed to get into.
Yes, I mean, really, those were half hour
Right. They're half
things, so
hours
you
and
can't get too
super
deep.
fast. Right. So I mean it was fine, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like the other inspirational ones. And then we went and we saw Snowfro, who does squiggles
Yep.
and talking about art blocks, and that was cool.
Hmm.
And then we went to the bringing change to the status quo, and I missed half of that because this was at 4 o'clock and I had not eaten anything but mini gummies.
Now, them passing out the Albanese mini gummies is next level.
It was so I was telling people about that. I was like, oh, I bought some gummies for camping, and like Amy and the kids were like, oh my gosh, we love gummies. I'm like, oh, the mini gummies are awesome. And they're like, yeah, I bet. And I'm like, that's what they gave us at VeeCon. I'm like, I survived on that on Saturday because I didn't want to miss anything. So we just kept
Yeah.
going. And finally, this one was bringing change to the status quo. And it started. And as soon as it started, I'm like, I've got to go get food. I'm like,
Hmm.
it had been, I don't know what time we ate breakfast, like
Yeah, it was
8
early.
in the morning.
Hmm. And
So
that was just like a little sandwich.
yeah, so anybody who knows me without food is bad. And like I had pushed through and finally I'm like, that's it, I got to get food. So I
Mhm.
missed a good portion of that. Then we heard from the Sharks and the Dragons, which is the
That was
show,
cool.
Shark Tank.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was awesome and super inspiring. And then we had Jessica Alba, which
Hmm.
was kind of inspiring, but more just hot.
Yeah,
So like we all loved
I
Jessica
saw her
Alba.
staring at you when she was walking down the
When
aisle.
she walked by, I seriously thought she was going to ask for my digits. So I was ready with my Snapchat. So she wanted me. That's true. That's true.
Hmm.
And then we ended with Gary talking about eliminating fear. And I thought that was so smart. Basically, he had people tweet
Hmm.
videos of what they were scared of. And then Gary responded to those videos. So they'd show the video and he would respond with how you um, eliminate that fear.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Super cool.
Hmm.
I thought it was super cool.
Hmm.
So that was VCon, right? And then you and I kind of that was our last session. Gino
Hmm.
went to see the concert,
Yep.
right? But
She said the concert was really good. They had fun. She ended up seeing a bunch of our friends, a bunch of other goats who we had met in Atlanta, and so she saw them, and we had seen like quick through passings, but they were
yes.
standing right there, so they really got to talk and hang out a little bit more and all that stuff. So
Well, and then when we left, first off, we got to see a family member. So we're 2 for 2 with
yeah,
seeing my family members at VCon.
that was awesome.
And no, people, these aren't like, oh my gosh, you have family members who also have V friends. No, like these are people who just randomly happen to be in the same city that we are at.
Well, he was Richard was an hour and a half away.
Yeah, but he moved there from California,
Oh yeah, he did move there
right?
like
Like
earlier
two
that
months
year.
before.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then this one was there for like a gymnastics competition.
Hmm.
So that was super cool. But then we got to chat with Victor for a little while.
That was cool.
Yeah. And Victor was running around the whole time. Like Victor's one of those personalities that even on VCon, which is full of personalities, like you saw Victor and recognized him. Like I did last year and I remembered him from last year. Like a lot of people like me, people forget about me the moment they're done seeing me. That's the image I portray
Hmm.
at VCon, and it's purposeful. Like I even said I'm wearing like an old man shirt. And then I went and bought like a black VCon shirt. Like I'm Men in Black. People see
Hmm.
me, then they forget about me, right? Which is okay. Kilted, they always remember, right?
Hmm.
Like he has things that they always remember. And Victor, everybody remembers. And like I did and seen him about, I'm like, this guy has just so much chutzpah.
Yeah,
But the funny part about him was he gave us a comic. Have you read the comic yet?
I have not read the comic yet.
I have also not read the comic yet. I
Okay.
need to. But the part that's funny was he tweeted out, like we started following each other, and I was like I didn't message him, but like I commented on a few of his posts, like when he was traveling,
Hmm.
like get home safe. And then he made a post the other day that was like, hey, if anybody knows anybody who's got like an
Oh,
in at
I see.
schools,
I saw you say that.
like knows a teacher, principal, somebody like that, I want them to get our comic in there and talk to them, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you just met somebody like that and gave them a comic, so I'll see what I can do. And
That's
he's like,
awesome.
wait, what?
That's cool.
Which goes back to what I tell people all the time. You don't know who you're going to meet.
Hmm.
And no matter where you are, you could be at freaking Walmart.
Hmm.
Be kind all the time,
Hmm.
because the person who you're meeting, you might actually need their help at some time and they might need your help.
Hmm.
So knowing them and being awesome is kind of a powerful thing, right?
Yeah. And that's exactly what Gary was talking about. He's like, many of you, like, you don't know, a lot of people don't know everyone in here, but you might meet somebody who could be a future business partner. Blah, blah, blah. Last year, the
Yes.
couple that met there, they got married.
Really? I didn't know that.
There was a couple that met at VeeCon and they got married this last year.
No way.
Mhm.
That is amazing. That's amaze balls for
Mhm.
sure.
So yeah, you never know, and then you might be able to do something to help them, and you don't know where that's going to spread, and that's just being kind and using the resources that you have access to.
Yeah. So things that have changed since VeeCon, I wanted to do a lot of minis, but I haven't.
Hmm.
Mainly because one of the things I've done a lot lately, and this is not as cool as it sounds. But first thing is I'm leaving my phone alone more often.
Nice.
But that's not really true because I have this.
Yeah.
So like this weekend, I like didn't take it with me, like all sorts of places. And normally I have it like all the time. It's like a lifeline. I'm constantly getting messages and
Hmm.
emails. And I was like, I'm leaving my phone. And they're like, really? And I'm like, well, I get the stuff on this. And I'm like, wait, why am I carrying a stupid phone around
Hmm.
when this does everything except for like I can't surf on it?
Hmm.
Like I can't surf Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And I thought I should disconnect from those.
Hmm.
And so I was leaving my phone and I've been leaving it here because I'm like, do I really need that when I've got this? Like texts and
That's
calls and
awesome.
messages will come
Hmm.
through. So I'm like,
You
yeah,
have the important stuff.
right. And so I've kind of been leaving it. Um, I've been doing that push-up challenge and I
Nice.
finished today. So I hit 3,000 this morning.
Congratulations.
I know, right? And I feel bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. I've been trying. I say trying, but like one of my goals was, I'd like to get up a few times a week early. Like,
Hmm.
let me rephrase that. Not get up early, but get up when my alarm goes off and go do something,
No
right?
snooze, you mean?
No snooze, or if I snooze, just snooze once and get up and do something, not just go and like sit there on the potty or sit and surf Twitter, like go and do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so the day after VCon, like I got up and I just went for a little jog. Like,
That's awesome.
I don't even know if it was a half mile. I just went for a jog. And
Hmm.
the next day I got up and I just did a little exercises. And then I end each of those times with hopefully outside, but I just sit and just try to listen to the birds and try to like inward focus, not quite meditate, but
Hmm.
just spend 5 minutes. And the
Real
crazy
quick.
part about this is last week, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, but for sure, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning, I probably won't do it. So
Hmm.
those are the days you and I stay up really late.
Yeah.
So I'm like, probably not. I did it every day.
That's
Like
awesome.
not a day went by. And part of it is like one of the days I took a nap earlier in the day and I didn't have any guilt about that.
Hmm.
And the other thing is that I was getting more done and getting places earlier than I was when I was getting up at that same time, but not doing something first.
Yeah,
So by getting up and doing anything
that's awesome.
made me get places earlier than getting up and going and getting right into the shower or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's amazing to me. It's amazing. So that
That's super awesome.
I thought that was a big change that seems to be paying dividends, and we'll see if it keeps going. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a thing. Like, I don't want to be like every day I'm doing this. It was just
Yeah,
like, I'm just gonna do it. And if there's a day I can't, like when I was camping this weekend, I didn't like get up early and go do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just like hung out, and that was
Yeah.
okay, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And
that
that's
was
the big thing. You got to be okay with it.
right. And I just wanted to,
Mhm.
focus on that, especially during the work week, going and getting stuff done. And
Yeah.
that was a big change for me, and trying to make sure that I'm always doing positive self-talk, which is
Mm-hmm.
so we talked before how we're really good about our positive self-talk, and a
Mhm.
lot of the speakers talked about that. But I found that I still have negative self-talk. So even me, who I thought was fantastic at positive
Mhm.
self-talk, I noticed that I still have negative self-talk.
You probably notice on Rocket League, I try to reword things differently now, especially when I'm doing really dumb stuff.
That's awesome. Well, and for me, it was things like, oh my gosh, this day has been so long. I'm so tired.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to be like, get done. And I'll be like, this day. And I'm like, I'm not tired. I'm not
Yeah.
tired. It's a great freaking day. It's beautiful out. I have almost everything I could ever want. I'm just happy to exist. And I try to like, but it's funny how quickly those thoughts creep in,
Yeah.
because that's how it is, right? Like you're like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm so tired. Like the one day I was like, oh, I'm so tired. And I'm like, no, 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 no. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day. And then I'm like, you
Mhm.
know what? It's a great day. I'm going to take a nap today. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic day because I'm going to get to take a nap. And, I got home, got Cal off the bus, and I'm like, hey, buddy, give me like 10 minutes to just take a quick nap. He's
Mhm.
like, cool. Can I play a game? And I'm like, play a game. I'm going to take a quick nap. And that changed like the whole afternoon,
Mhm.
right?
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
So we've been walking, which is awesome. I've been on the Peloton, which is awesome.
Nice.
And as far as the social networks, so for Twitter, what I'm trying to do is my intention is set to where I might be on there for like 5-10 minutes, but I'm trying to make sure I say something, do some likes, and possibly tweet myself.
Nice. That is
So
perfect.
engaging a little bit more, which rather than just being a lurker, I'm trying to do a little bit on Discord too.
Yay. All right, people, that is going to end our thing. We're just about out of time. So thank you for joining us. Stay with us for more.
Yeah.
And this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kilter Dragon Jerry, love you all.